We need a governor who has a plan to strengthen and steady our economy at this time where so much chaos is being thrust upon us. And we can set an example for the rest of the country when we win on Tuesday.
With roughly 100 hours until polls close in New York, New Jersey, and Virginia, candidates are pulling out all the stops. And for Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, that means getting former President Barack Obama to join them on the campaign trail this weekend. Tuesday's election will be another referendum on Trump's presidency and an opportunity for Democrats to try and boost momentum after 2024. Also, some Democrats rumored to be thinking about a 2028 presidential run are taking the opportunity to boost enthusiasm for themselves. At least half a dozen of them have campaigned in both New Jersey and Virginia. Rahm Emanuel is one of those Democrats and joins our panel now. He's a CNN senior political and global affairs commentator, also a former mayor of Chicago. We should note on the left side of your screen, you're going to see our Arena text chain. That's where we're sharing additional analysis from a few of our top reporters and contributors. Rahm, thank you for joining us. I wonder how much you see Tuesday as a referendum from voters on Donald Trump.
It's 100%. It's a referendum. Let me say it this way. It's 90% a referendum. I'll recorrect myself on Donald Trump, and maybe 10% on the governor that's sitting in the office right now. And there's a lot going on in both states. You have major federal employees that are been furloughed and are unemployed right now, and that's going to impact Virginia, over 100,000. You have infrastructure projects, the tunnels and stuff, that have been canceled in New Jersey to New York because of the government shutdown. And so in both states, they have been impacted. So Donald Trump, whether his name is directly on the ballot, his stewardship is on the ballot, and it will impact the rest of his presidency.
Our Isaac Dovera has new reporting out about former President Obama's stepped up plans to fight back against Trump. And he writes, quote, he senses the politics of his party may be leaving him behind, but also wonders if the Democratic Party's problems are so deep that it needs his help to steer it back to relevance. Do you see the Democratic Party needing President Obama to steer it back to relevance?
Well, I think President Obama, I haven't talked to him, but like all of us who've put our name on the ballot, there's nothing like winning. In 2024 was obviously not only a loss, a devastation, given also the consequences you've seen. But if you not only win in New Jersey, not only win in Virginia, but also win Proposition 50 in California, you got 3 Supreme Court races in Pennsylvania. You have the New York City mayor's race. You have some elections out on Long Island. Winning gives you not only momentum, it will tell you a lot about where the electorate's mind is, where the independent swing voters are going to be, how they're going to break, and it also helps you in recruitment. You have some races for the congressional and other races that still don't have candidates. If they're sitting on the fence and all of a sudden the Democrats have a great night, that tips the scales, and I've seen it firsthand myself.
Looking at the latest polls,
and I think,
go ahead.
Yeah, go. No, I would say one other thing that will also happen. If the Democrats do as well as I think they will, you will see the government shutdown come to a pretty quick conclusion right after that. Elections have consequences, and people will realize this is not working. I think that will be particularly on the Republicans, and they will look for a solution with due speed.
One of many angles to look at. So you have 2 somewhat different, very different Democrats running on Tuesday night, both of them, though, leading their races by double digits. Zohran Mamdani in New York, Abigail Spanberger in Virginia. What lessons do you think Democrats can take from both candidates, and what do you think that having both of them on the ballot means for the party more broadly?
Yeah, I think I would switch it a little, Boris, in this sense. All 3 candidates are putting cost of living and affordability front and center. Now, all 3 candidates have different solutions to how to address that cost of living. But the issue of what is affecting families, their ability to afford their standard of living, ability to pay for their kids' education, ability to basically not just achieve a middle class in the American dream, but not constantly struggle to retain it, is on the ballot. And they're speaking to that. And they understand it because it's front and center to the public. Therefore, it's front and center of your campaign. Now, how they address that, what are their policy positions on housing, healthcare costs, saving for your kids' education or your retirement, that's going to change, and because the economies in each of the cities or states is very different.
Ram, please stand by. Lulu, to you, back to the question of Obama on the campaign trail. As Isaac Dover points out, a child born the day before Obama was elected is now old enough to vote. I mean, how difficult is it for the party to rely on someone like Obama to steer them toward the future and try to win elections, when in many ways he doesn't exactly represent where the energy in the party is right now, given Zohran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders and AOC on their oligarchy tour?
So first of all, way to make me feel old.
Was not my intent.
Yeah, so yay you. And that's actually the problem, right? Because Obama is of a different era. And in the interim, what he has been doing is Netflix deals. His wife has a lovely podcast. She's now got a book out about her outfits. I mean, they have become sort of influencers, if you will, and they haven't been in the political arena, I think, in the same way. And so while he still has star power and star wattage, that is not the future of the party. The Democratic Party needs to figure out what it is going to be. And, you know, everyone can identify what the problems are in this country. We know affordability is the problem. We know that healthcare is the problem. We know that jobs are increasingly a problem. How do you deal with that? How do you resolve those issues? And what I continually hear, and we heard it earlier in the program here from Hakeem Jeffries, is Trump, 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 Trump. And that only gets you so far, I think.
Jonah?
Yeah, I think we put a little too much emphasis on Mamdani. I get it. He's catnip. He's charismatic. He's interesting. Bernie Sanders and AOC, they're not being invited to campaign in Virginia. They're not being invited to campaign in New Jersey. The coalition that is going to get Mamdani elected in New York is young and activist and left-wing, a lot of barista socialists and whatnot, and that's fine. But you know, Harris carried, as Brad Todd was saying in our chat thing, Harris carried Virginia and New Jersey by 6 points. And that's a good number to look at about how much of this is going to be a referendum on Trump, is like how much do they overperform that?
You're going to be watching this closely, I imagine.
Of course. Oh, Ram.
Oh, Ram?
No, look, I think Jonah makes a point is, I would kind of disagree with the assumption that all the energy is quote unquote on the left. And just take a look at the New Jersey primary. There were 6 candidates. You had the mayor of Newark, the mayor of Jersey City, the president of the teachers union, and the most conservative candidate gets over 30% of the vote in a 6-way race. That was also true in the Virginia congressional race. So this idea that the energy is quote unquote just on the left doesn't reflect where primaries to date since 2024 have been. I get, as Jonah said, it's catnip. The other thing is, if you look at Bill Clinton, you look at Barack Obama, while different candidates, different points in time in history, they both follow, obviously, Republican leadership, and they both show a similar campaign strategy on the cultural side and the economic side. And then Democrats disparage them, and then they go to the desert for X years, and then they have to come back and relearn the same lesson of how you win national elections by being right down the center with, not I don't mean just ideologically, but with the American people on both the values that make up their family life and also the values that surround the economic strategy to put the middle class at dead center of your priorities.
Can I just say something? Ram, the only thing I'll say about that is of course you're right that the center actually is where for Democrats. No, but where Democrats. No, but of course you're right that the center is nationally where Democrats need to be. But the problem here is that the messaging that the Democrats are giving isn't inspiring people. It isn't connecting with the average voter. And so that message of like, oh, we've got to pivot to the middle, it isn't really resonating.
Well, I respectfully I disagree with that.
Everybody wants to chime in, but we're really short on time, and the producers have been like telling me like we gotta wrap.
Let me just say really quickly. I mean, look, I think that the big difference to keep in mind here is that New York City is a municipal election with ranked choice voting, and yes, Mamdani is exciting a whole generation of younger voters, and that's something that Democrats as a whole are going to have to take into account going into 2026 and 2028. But to Ram's point, when you're looking at Virginia and New Jersey, these are totally different races. These are national security soccer moms who are dominating, who are both going to win those races. We have a big tent, and that's emblematic in what you're seeing on
At the risk
Tuesday.
of getting beat up, because we only have like 10
I
seconds,
get it.
Michael.
2026.
Just really quick. I would just say,
2026
if
is
you
gonna
look
be a
at how close
referendum.
the gubernatorial race has gotten in Virginia, you're talking about 1 point within the margin of error. I'm not necessarily certain this is a rebuke on Donald Trump, as it is more so a state flipping back to Democratic control, a state that I reside in.